Okay, so welcome to another coaching call. Again, if you can't join live and have questions, please post them on the discussion board inside the program platform membership platform, and I'd be happy to answer those during a live coaching call because I know this time doesn't always work for everybody. So Vicki, how have you been?
Yep, been doing okay. I just have, you know, I did that Dutch test. I did get an email back from them, and they said like 5 to 7 days. So
Whoa.
I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, me too, because usually it takes a good 3 weeks to get a result.
Yeah.
So, I do know I was in the lab's portal this morning, and I do see they're processing yours, so it's in there. So we should be getting that back then, pretty soon. Then we can go through those and everything.
Okay. Yep. I know that, with the holiday and stuff like that, I think that, and plus I think you're going to be in town as well. So,
Right.
So no coaching on the 29th.
Right.
And then, but back on the 6th. So maybe the 6th, we can go over those results.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we can do that live on the call if you're okay with doing that. Be a good teaching thing for people.
Right.
Particularly since, we had done this on an earlier call and it was incorporated into the program. And this would be a nice follow-up to that as well. So we can definitely do that on the 6th. Yeah.
Yep, I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
So, yep, I'll just plan on that then on the 6th. So,
yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, good.
That'd be good. Yeah. And so my goal, anybody listening to the replay as well, is I am relaunching this membership now through the end of the year. So hopefully, the goal of this whole membership was to try to, be there as a resource for women to offer each other support, ultimately for a very affordable rate. I mean, you can't see a practitioner for what the membership is, and the amount of time that you're getting in here, as you know. So if you do know people that would maybe be interested, you can certainly send them over to the website, or they can email me, or they can set up a discovery call if they're not sure. But yeah, the goal of this is to give you the foundational tools you need to be in control of your own health and your own hormone health, for that matter. And to let women know that you don't have to settle for, if you're in perimenopause, that you have to take the birth control pill to help your symptoms, or an antidepressant, or a sleeping pill, where sometimes those are needed. But if you figure out what's the root cause of some of this stuff, and as you know, going through the hormone testing, it's not like any other hormone test. The Dutch test, the dried urine testing, is just way more comprehensive. We can see not only your hormone levels, but how you're breaking down your hormones. We also actually see, your adrenal health, and looking at your cortisol levels, and also some important organic acid markers that has, like B12 and B6 markers, a detox marker, neurotransmitter markers. So it's just a much more comprehensive test. I've got a couple of women right now either suffering from depression or anxiety, and going into the winter, this is also a big thing. And some, a lot of times, women may need an antidepressant or anxiety, but what if it was a hormonal reason that was combined with the seasonal effect of, the short days and stuff. Vitamin D certainly can help there, B vitamins, blue light therapy has been shown to be beneficial for seasonal affective. But in these couple of women, one thing that was very interesting in both of these cases, one having depression, the other having anxiety, is that both of them, and you might not ever equate it, had very low, I mean, like extremely low testosterone and DHEA levels. And we think of testosterone sometimes having to do more with muscle mass and libido, but it also has a big impact on mood. And so does the DHEA, which is an adrenal marker as well. So if those can be supported and corrected, you know, can those particular individuals' moods improve, and then going into the seasonal affective time of year, I have found those of my patients in the past that would use blue light therapy really saw benefit from it. And so you can get them, I mean, you can get them a lot of places, you know, like Costco, Amazon, wherever. But what I would often recommend is they have it, you know, on their desk at work, for instance. I think you can even get ones with timers on them if you have it in the bedroom, you know, like in the summertime, the sun starts to slowly rise, that's rising. That light's slowly coming on to help wake you up more naturally and stuff during those dark winter months. So that's something to, you know, that can certainly be a benefit. Sorry, I got off on a little sidetrack there, but.
No, I think that that's good because I think anytime that we can use something that's a little more natural, like blue light therapy versus, you know, I mean, even a supplement, I mean, I think is good. And I know for me in my mental health private practice, I mean, we have a lot of people that really suffer during the winter time. And, you know, it starts just as soon as it starts getting dark early. So it's
Yeah.
actually even in the late fall. And
Right.
so that's a good reminder for me as a recommendation for folks is that
Mhm.
blue light therapy.
Mhm.
You know, and as well as, you know, the hormone testing. And with the testosterone, I mean, that does affect energy, right? Because
Oh,
can't you really feel a lot of fatigue?
oh, yes, definitely.
So I had a couple of men over the last couple years in my private practice
Mhm.
that were really under a lot of stress, and
Mhm.
they were complaining of a lot of fatigue. And um, I referred them for testing for testosterone, and both of them were very, very low.
Mhm.
So, you know, again, I mean, we live very stressful lives. I certainly am stressed all the time, it seems
Yeah,
like, and I know that it really does have an impact on my
huge.
hormone balance.
Huge. In fact, this one, both of these particular women actually have been under enormous amounts of stress the last couple of years, enormous. And it wasn't just that, like cortisol level, just in the one gal, because this is what could happen with your cortisol level. They both had two different reactions to their stress with their cortisol level. One, her cortisol level completely flatlined. So cortisol helps wake us up, give us energy during the day, helps regulate mood as well, and then gradually goes down and we go to sleep. So when the one, her cortisol was just is completely flatlined. So basically that continual high stress just completely overwhelmed and depleted her reserves with her adrenal health. The other one, hers were low, but they were low because she's burning it up so fast with her stress. It's suppressing it. And it's just going at such a high rate. And how that's approached for me is going to be different. You know, what I'm going to recommend, even though they both have depletions, it's how it's being depleted can make a difference in what I would recommend, whether to give them one type of adrenal supporting product versus another. One has a more calming effect, one's a little more stimulating effect, and both are supportive at the same time. But if someone, let's say, is burning their cortisol at a high rate and you don't give them a more calming herbal adaptogen and you give them the more stimulating one, you're going to make them feel worse. So that's another nice thing about that testing, is when you can look at that in the whole context of things, that it may make a very big difference on what's going to work well for you, a more stimulating or calming herbal adaptogen based on how you're metabolizing your cortisol levels.
Interesting. Well, I had the Dutch test about a year ago, and at that time, the test results said that I had an adequate amount upon awakening, but very shortly after that, it was depleted.
Right.
So, and then, so in that situation, the supplement, I'm trying to remember the name of it, that you recommended.
It might have been HPA Axis daytime maintenance.
HP what?
HPA Axis daytime maintenance, possibly. It might have been. I'd have to go look back at your results. It depends on, again, how you were metabolizing your cortisol level. That one's more stimulating, where, another one I might use to calm things down is PS 100.
I think I was on the no, I was on the PS 100.
Okay, so you were, yeah.
I have been, I've continued to be on that.
Okay, so you were high and then burning at a higher rate, possibly. Yeah, so it really can make a big difference. Another thing that's really good for adrenals and your immune system, going into the, flu season here, is vitamin C. Our adrenals love vitamin C. Now, you can get that, either you're consuming vitamin C rich foods, or you may supplement for that. Probably one of the more potent forms of vitamin C that people might not be familiar with is called Camu Camu. Happens to be high in vitamin C.
How do you spell it?
CAMU, CAMU. So it's just Camu Camu. And
it's a supplement?
I think, it's, I don't, that's really going to be the most available way for people in the United States to get it, I would say.
I take a ton of vitamin C, and I have since as soon as I could get my hands on it, and after the pandemic, I take a ton of vitamin C.
Yeah, it's really good for our immune systems and our adrenals both. So, but yeah, either option is fine. It's kind of whatever, you have access to, or can get. But they're both good sources, and then sometimes if people have trouble or feel they may have trouble with absorption, anything you can get in a powder or liquid form or an extract is sometimes going to be better than a capsule form. From an absorption standpoint, some people will absorb, capsules fine. Other people, maybe, for instance, what would be a clue that maybe you have an absorption issue? If you have digestive issues, if you say you're taking vitamin D and you feel like you're taking an adequate amount, and you go get your levels rechecked and you're still low, you may not be absorbing that because you're taking it in a capsule form, and then may need to take it in a liquid like drops, because then it's bypassing the stomach, it's getting absorbed through the oral mucosa in the mouth, and it's getting right into your system that way as well. But yeah, I would say in a couple of weeks, we look at your results and what happens normally when somebody's doing a retest is I will, prior to their visit, I will look at both results, the previous test and the current test, and see if we've got changes. Now, things can affect, whether or not we're going to see changes. Do you remain on the same protocol that you were a year ago? And so that we're seeing whether or not that's being effective or not. Have you stopped taking those? Is that playing into that? What's happened in your life during that time between testing? Change in environment, stress, diet, all those things are going to impact those levels. And sometimes, somebody can have a hiccup in how well they're breaking down things that maybe wasn't there before, or maybe that's improved with things. So it's good to compare and try to figure out, okay, what do we need to do differently, or is what we're doing working, or what do we need to, make changes or considerations to that might be going on in a person's life during that time as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, really looking forward to the testing, especially, anything that has to do with fatigue, because that's one of my biggest complaints. So,
yeah, and if the cortisol is still low, or if you have low testosterone, DHEA, those can be other, there's a lot of reasons a person can be tired, but those from a hormone standpoint would be some possible things on that particular test that we'd want to look at and make sure that are adequate and things. And kind of a comment back to the gentleman that you are seeing. One thing that I think is important, that quite honestly, I don't think a lot of providers check when their patients, they're checking a guy's testosterone level, is to see what their estrogen level is too.
I'll have to remember that.
Guys have estrogen. The blood test that they can test in the conventional traditional way would be an estradiol level. But guys can have high testosterone or estrogen. They can have high estrogen because they're turning their testosterone, too much of it's being converted into estrogen.
Interesting.
I certainly have seen that. And then that, so let's say in a conventional setting, a guy is found to have low testosterone, their provider puts them on testosterone, starts testosterone injections, is the most economical way for guys to get it. There's also, gels that are prescription, certainly compounding, but most conventionally trained providers are not going to be compounding hormones. And they may do that, but what if they're aromatizing? What if they're turning a lot of their testosterone over to estrogen? So you give them the testosterone and they're getting some, maybe a little bit of a response, but maybe not like they had hoped, or their levels still staying low end. Well, what if it's all turning into estrogen? So then in that case, you want to give them something to slow down that, what we call aromatization or conversion of the testosterone over into estrogen, to make that testosterone they're getting more effective and safer for them. So, and the same thing can happen in women. If I sense that a woman's converting a lot of her testosterone over into estrogen, is that one of the reasons she has really low testosterone? So you have to be careful and have to take all that under consideration. And then in that case, there's different types of herbs that can help slow down potentially that aromatization, so that you're holding on to more of that hormone as testosterone.
Wow, it just sounds so complex.
There's
just so many different variables and everything.
Yeah, it is. It is a complex thing. And that's, like I said, why I feel the Dutch test is such a game changer, because, we really, we don't see that on other tests. We just don't see it. I mean, you could do a saliva hormone test and see with a man or a woman, you know, if they have high estrogen and low testosterone, let's say, but what you can't see is what happens to it next, you know, how it's being broken down. But yeah, it really can make a difference on, you know, a treatment approach, at least from my perspective, you know, what I'm going to recommend or risk versus benefit of giving something too. So, but yeah, it is complicated. That's why a lot of providers don't like or don't want anything to do with hormones. It's just because it can affect everything. I mean, you have hormones on every cell of your body. It can affect everything. So it's something not to be taken lightly.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah. What other questions do you have today?
well, okay, so I am not this Friday, but the following Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, I'm starting the Bright Line eating again.
Okay, yeah.
And so when I did that before, I had almost like flu-like symptoms, like I was just extremely fatigued, and actually I thought I had COVID. So it was the first time I went for a COVID test. And you know, it's detoxing and it's withdrawing from sugar,
Right.
flour, and dairy. And so I don't know if you have any suggestions about that, because it was I literally, like a couple days in, like I felt like I could barely hold my head up. I was just extremely fatigued.
Yeah, you had kind of like a detox flu.
Yeah. So any suggestions on, you know, some strategies to try to, you know, self-care during that time?
You've got to drink plenty of water. Because if you don't, it's like that toxin level is more concentrated in your body. This way you're kind of diluting it, flushing it.
Okay.
So if you're dehydrated, that would be one thing I would tell you could help. And then also leading up to your start date, just revisit, you know, how much sugar and carbs and all that are you consuming, and do you need to just start kind of curtailing that going into it,
Okay.
to lessen that burden on the body.
Yeah.
So the other thing is to make sure you're having good bowel movements, because that's how we rid all these wastes from the body. And if you're doing the program, but you're becoming constipated, you're still holding on to the toxins. That's where the hydration's important, movement, sweating, you know, if you have access to like an infrared sauna or something. But if you don't, you know, just make sure you're well hydrated. One thing that's certainly within the early part of this program and most of my programs is lemon water first thing in the morning. That helps open up bioflow, helps your body start with digestion, and could help stimulate a bowel movement too.
Okay.
In the morning.
Okay.
That you know, you still may get it, but but those would be some of the things that you could do to support yourself to try to lessen the effect. Hydration is very important.
Okay.
And I don't know, in Bright Line, do they talk about hydration at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, a lot.
Yeah. And that's why it's just really very important. Yeah. To be well hydrated and flushing out those toxins. I do have I just haven't had time yet. There is something I'm looking into help bind those toxins. There's a lot of different things out there. Some natural binders are things like cilantro. Not everybody likes cilantro though. You know, you either have a taste for it or not. Some people it'll taste like soap and other people love it. You know, so adding cilantro into your meals, you know, you can put it in your salad. You could just eat it if you want, but it's kind of a natural binder for like heavy metals and stuff that can be getting pulled out during a detox, and that sometimes can cause brain fog and fatigue. You know,
Mhm.
just having a way to bind some of those toxins as you're detoxing. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, some very important things today that came up. Certainly that I think a lot of, you know, women might not be aware of when it comes to what can be causing fatigue or anxiety or depression. You know, it's not just about your estrogen and your progesterone. It can be cortisol, it can be testosterone, it can be DHEA, it can, you know, it can be a lot of things that's contributing to that. And then with the seasonal affective disorder that a lot of people suffer from, you know, simple things as the blue light therapy may be helpful as well.
Mhm.